Greetings, everybody. It's me, Patricia Cori, coming to you with a quick message, with a very brief message about what I've been talking about, which is, are you debt free? What are you doing about it if you aren't? And the coming hard times, how do you make that a short discussion? Probably not. But as I've been talking about this on some social media, I just want to talk about a few points because people are asking me questions. Not that I am any financial wizard by any stretch of the imagination, but I have managed to get myself out of debt. I have managed to pay off a mortgage. My car is mine. The feeling when you put your head down on the pillow at night of knowing that you have expenses, yes, but no debt choking you, stifling out the life force. So people are asking me, how do you get out of debt? What are some ideas? And boy, I'll tell you, the first thing is stop, if you are buying into the NESARA GESARA fantasy. Oh, ouch, I can just hear the rebuttal to that. Um, what is it, 10 years now we're hearing about this? And yeah, it may very well be. We've seen some government supported financial aids in the way of checks during the pandemic, but I assure you that is not what you want to do. You do not want to be living in government determined housing in a smart city on a stipend they deem mm, relative to your new living situation, and they're certainly trying to put that in. So if and you know, I spoke recently, or I wrote recently, about how I knew some people who had run up their bills, run up their credit cards, run up their debt because they were convinced that they would be able to wash it away with NESARA. And my question was, okay, wait a minute. Is anybody listening? My question was, okay, so first of all, where is the sense of responsibility that our forefathers and mothers had, which was to be responsible for the choices you make, and that if you do uh, make debt, you pay it back. The idea that you're going to run up your credit cards because NESARA is going to blow it off anyway is a little bit irresponsible. And aside from getting you into major trouble, it is certainly not contributing to the overall problem. So the first thing when people ask me ideas of how to get out of the mess they're in is, forget about NESARA, GESARA. If it comes, well, whoop-de-doo, you've got a bonus. You get out of jail free. If it doesn't come, you're making your situation so much worse, worse by the day, that your future is surely going to be very, very difficult. Then comes the question of bankruptcy. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. But if you're running up your credit cards with the idea that I'll just run them into the ground and then I'll declare bankruptcy, well, then how are you going to get a house? How are you going to get a mortgage if you want to buy a house? How are you going to ever rent a house if you don't have any credit? You see where I'm going with this? So congratulations to all of you who have been diligent and have been avoiding debt or getting out of debt. And you know, I have to also say that in my life, I've been quite the spender. I mean, I've traveled around the world. I've been a clothes hog for some years. You know, you name it. Never been a car freak too much though. But right now, living in the environment I'm in on this little island, I'm absolutely a non-consumer. It's not a place where it's not a consumption mentality because it's a underpopulated place. There's not that much opportunity to do any shopping. That's an understatement. And there's not a consumer mentality where I am. So in answer to a lot of questions that are coming to me about how do you really start digging your way out, people start, first of all, let go of the NESARA fantasy, like I said, because the idea that you could just charge away and then somebody else is going to kiss the boo-boo. It's like the student loan thing in the United States. Really? I worked my ass off to go to college, and I worked my ass off to pay back my debt. And the idea that somebody else has to pay back the debt of students now, I just find it extremely offensive and irresponsible. It's like, you went to the school, you got the debt, you got the education, now be a good boy or girl, or non-fluid, binary, whatever, and take care of your responsibility and pay it back. Because whoever is paying it back, which is the taxpayer, which is still me, even though I live outside of America for 35 plus years, I still have to pay taxes there. It's not fair, and it's not doing a damn thing for improving the economy. They just keep cranking up the tax debt on the working class. So do what you can. They're going to, the news about the credit card companies is, I guess the average credit card bill, I don't know, I have no credit card debt, thank God, but I hear that the average interest rate is something like 20% and higher, and they're going to crank it higher. So the first thing you need to do, I think, you know, when I was younger and I first got credit cards, I had no clue. I had no sense of what I was paying in interest. And my mom sat me down and said, honey, you do realize that the thing you just bought for $100 because it was $20 off is costing you, I think it was 15% at the time, interest. And if you're not paying that off immediately, it's going to end up costing you this thing that you bought on sale 3 times as much as you paid for it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I did my numbers and went, wait a minute, this is a bad deal. Well, it's getting a lot worse. And the credit card companies now are preparing for people defaulting on their cards. So they are going to increase the credit card interest rate. Then they're going to slam people with a cutoff when they get too high up on their debt. They're going to say, okay, from today on, you cannot exceed this limit, and until you've paid down substantially, yada, yada. So when you're paying only interest on your card, you don't ever pay down that total. I realize that a lot of you, this is elementary economics, but for those of you who don't understand it or don't realize it, just crunch some numbers, look at the debt on your card, realize if you're paying $500 a month and it's only the interest, you're in trouble. So I really recommend that you start working on that debt, on the credit card debt. That's the first thing that has to be resolved. When I hear people say I've got 8 credit cards and my credit card debt is $200,000, I shiver. I mean, I shiver. Because if you're worried about a 7% interest on a mortgage, imagine a 20% interest on a $200,000 credit card debt, which a lot of people are getting into. One. As far as houses go, if you own your own home, I'm really thrilled for you. I own my home outright now, thank you, God. And if there's any way you can, I have a friend who had a, what do you call it? The non-fixed mortgage. And she had the savvy, hi Jess, to get herself to the bank and start talking fixed mortgage rate just before all these financial shocking things started coming down. So she locked herself into a low mortgage rate, and then it started to spiral up. So she had vision and savvy, and now she's got I think 10 years, she's locked into something like 2%, which is awesome. So, you know, you really need to be thinking about that. And if you don't have a fixed mortgage, please investigate with your bank what the options are, because we see the rates going up, the interest rates are going up. I think it's 7.2% as of today in America. I'm going to use America as my guideline, even though I'm not there, because it's the center of how the world rolls when it comes to finances anyway. So they're at 7.2%. If your credit rating is over, I think, 800. If it's not, you're talking 8.59% interest. Try to figure that out when you've got a $300,000 mortgage. It's insane. And they're going up. I believe 18th of March, the Fed, the head of the Fed, is going to make another statement and another declaration, and people are experts are estimating that they're going to kick it up another 50 points. It's like, you guys, you have really got to get yourself together now with regard to these statistics. Many of us spiritual alternative people, I don't know what we should call ourselves anymore. We're not new age, that's so yesterday. We're not alternative. We're not necessarily categorizable, but most of us who are, let's say, on a spiritual path, we hate to talk about money. We just hate it. We don't like to dedicate energy to it. But as we approach a global depression, we've got to have a plan, folks. You really, really have to have a plan. So the housing situation, you know what it is. If you're renting, your rents are going up, up, up. And this self-fulfilling prophecy, the owner of the house has to, because the mortgage is going up, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's time to maybe consider having a roommate, whatever you can do to outsmart the financial system. That's the term I use, outsmart the system. Whatever you could pay off, beat out the interest, the debt, the impossibility of getting out from under, and just sacrifice right now. I mean, last year when I paid off my mortgage, I have no more travel. I have just sacrificed so much to be able to walk into the bank that day and say, it's time to sign me out. And by the way, banks don't like you to pay off the mortgage just, that's how they make their money. So not to say that they're good people here and they were happy for me, but the bank isn't necessarily happy that you're paying off your mortgage early, to be sure. And then, of course, is the question of, I hear my mother's, as I'm talking, I hear my mother's voice in my head and remember that I thought, oh, what a pain in the ass. My mother with all these, be sure to save 10% of your income, honey. And if only, excuse me, I've got a cold. If only I had listened to her, saving 10% of my income, I used to tell her, Ma, I don't have 10% extra to save. But of course you do, because if you pay yourself first, you usually find a way to get 10% of your income stashed away, or even 5%, but you've got to commit. At the moment, I'm not crazy about having money in the bank, but I do that. Whenever money comes in, 10% goes automatically into a savings plan. And then slowly I keep taking it out, by the way, because that's another thing I want to talk about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. See what you can do if you've never done that, to start saving 10% of every dollar that comes into your home from everybody that's participating in the home. So if you've got 2 or 3 people that are both working, see if you can get everybody to commit to that, to a communal stash of 10%. And you can't believe how quickly it adds up. And then you make balloon payments at the end of the year on things like credit cards and mortgages or whatever. That's how one of the ways I got out from under. Another way was, I was very savvy with crypto. I bought it when it was really low. And all the earmarks were 2023. That's when it's going to blow. It's going to moon. But 2021, I was like, these are some pretty interesting gains. And they weren't, stellar, but they were big enough to kick me over the edge, to pay off the mortgage, to put solar in the house, and to do some building on the house too. So 2021 was a year, thanks to crypto, which was actually my first investment. I've never invested in anything like stocks or whatever. But that was good, and it helped me get over the edge. And I will never, ever again take on any debt. If I can't afford it, I don't get it. Speaking of which, I'd like to just remind you, this little trick with the 10% income saving, when you do it automatically, if you're on a fixed salary and you automatically dedicate this bank transfer, when your salary comes in, automatically pay yourself, you learn not to miss it. It's like when I paid off my mortgage, I had more income. So I went, well, okay, since I'm used to paying the mortgage and can't afford it, let me just put that in savings. So almost all of what I was paying, I was fortunate to have a low mortgage, because It wasn't a super expensive property. Um, so it reverts now into an automatic payment to the bank, and it's adding up. And like I said, all these years of me being a kid and a grown up and an adult and whatever, it took me till now to figure out that my mother knew exactly what she was talking about. And so I don't have a huge retirement fund, but better late than never is what I say. So I'm working on it. Will money crash? Will the dollar have no value or any of the paper money? Are they going to put us on a system with the central bank digital currency? Looks like it. Nobody knows what that's going to mean. Nobody knows if the dollar and all of the fiat currencies are going to crash, and then what? Are we going to have to be chipped to get into the CBD system? I don't know. But you know what I do know? Gold and silver. Let me preface this by saying I'm not trying to promote anybody into a connection that I have for gold and silver. So I know a lot of people and truthers are doing that right now. Everybody seems to have a link to gold and silver, and I don't. I just want to contemplate it with you. And that is gold and silver will always be negotiated. You will, no matter where you go in the world, gold particularly, but not ignoring silver, you will be able to turn over a gold coin and get value for it in another currency if they still exist, in product, whatever that is, that will still hold value. Because if they crash the paper, which has no value, it's an illusion anyway, then what? So if you haven't started stacking some silver and gold, it's time to look into it. And I'm doing that little by little. You know, I'm not one of these people that go out and spend 40,000 bucks at a shot, but with my little dribbles, I'm building a stash. It's called stacking. You start with a couple silver coins if you've got no particularly um, abundance of extra cash. But just know if the money system goes down and you're holding gold and silver, you'll probably be able to transfer that into value. Like I said, somebody said to me, you really don't think somebody's going to give you a barrel of wheat because you've given them a worthless coin. I go, silver and gold will never be worthless. And it's the one thing that no matter where you go, you will always be able to utilize it. It is the universal system outside of what they're going to try to put in, which is the digital system. And God help us if they succeed in that, because then we will be in complete and total absolute tyranny. So I'm watching this, praying that we are at this turning point now, which it certainly does appear. Things are turning, things are shifting, and that they will not get away with this digital system or the social credit system, even though they're going full speed ahead. So as fast as they're going ahead, so is the overturning of a lot of stuff that's in play. Keep your eyes open. At any rate, so just to make it a wrap here, just please, please don't be beguiled by the idea of the NESARA GESARA alternative, where the forces of light come in and wipe away all debt on the planet. Nobody has to work anymore. Garden of Eden, Hare Krishna. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And I want to work. I love to work, by the way. A world where nobody has any work, I can't fathom it. Who's going to wash the dishes? Who's going to serve the food? Just robots? It isn't rational, this idea, at all. Doesn't make sense at all. But anyway, if that is your belief system, you know, God bless you. I really hope it comes true, but don't count on it. At least count on it, but still take care of business in the meantime. Don't be a fool and run up your credit cards because NESARA is going to come and wipe it away, because you're going to find yourself in deep doo-doo. You know, now I mentioned this, a friend of mine, in a post recently, and somebody said I was, what was the term she used? Shaming her. Didn't even name the person, but I was shaming her because I dared to say that she was crazy to do that. And I'll dare to say it again. You're crazy to run up debt because you think a system that supposedly is coming, but we haven't seen, we've been hearing about for 10 years and hasn't seen, is going to wipe the slate clean, and you'll have all that stuff that you bought because you knew somebody or something was going to come along and wipe it away. Let's have the responsibility to stop consuming now. Stop buying now. At least really, really rein it in. Then there are the people going to say, but if we stop consuming, it's going to only be bad for the economy. Right now, I'm telling you, people I love, stop consuming crazily. Like jewelry. I mean, I've done this all. Traveled. There was no object for me. If I had money and Egypt was calling, I'd jump on a plane. So now's the time to pull it in, to be, I guess, to be wise, to be um, cautious, to be in a defense position when it comes to money. Will people be saying there's a lot of money to be made by investing? Sure. If you've got a lot of extra money to throw away, for example, crypto right now, after I sold mine, it went down 80%. It helps being psychic. But I sold it. In fact, I'll tell you a great story. I was lying in bed one night. This was 2021. And you become quite addicted when you're invested in crypto because the numbers keep changing. It's 24 hours a day. And so I was lying in bed, and one of the cryptos that I held had gone way up from when I originally bought it. And I kept thinking to myself, I really should sell this. Oh, but it's going to go up more and more. That greed factor comes in. And my guides said, sell it now. It was the loudest voice I've ever heard. Sell now. And I know that voice. When I hear that voice, I pay attention. And I was in bed and the dogs were asleep and I was upstairs. So in order to sell it, I needed my cell phone for the code, and I didn't have it, which meant coming downstairs, getting a phone, waking up the dogs. And I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. Now, sell it now. I was like, okay. So I came downstairs, get the phone. It wasn't charged. To make a long story short, by the time I got the phone, got it charged, got the dogs back to where they needed to be, it had already started to fall. Not a lot, but it had already started to slip. And I sold that puppy, and that one sale was something like $18,000. I can speak about it because I pay my taxes on crypto. And I watched it careen after I sold it. It was just like right down. So I was fortunate with crypto, blessed. I sold a lot of it when it was at its peak. It's now down about 75, 80%. I'm very sad for the people who have held out. Maybe it'll go back up, but right now is not a time, in my humble opinion, to be in a gambling posture. Not when we are careening toward a Great Depression. And on that subject, in the Great Depression, there wasn't a sabotage of industry like we're seeing. At least I don't know about it. I mean, I wasn't there, but as far as I understand it, they weren't destroying the farms, they being the secret government or whatever you want to call it. I got to be careful of the words so this doesn't get taken down. They weren't blowing up the food suppliers, the factories. What is it now? 230 food factories and production centers have been caught on fire, blown up. I think 2 of them had planes crash into them. Give me one large break, right? So the difference of that time and this time is this is deliberate. It's a setup, and they have tools that they didn't have back then. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying I hope that I love that a lot of you are well on your way to independence and have reached the debt-free status, gearing down your expenses, bunking up with people perhaps in housing so that you can afford where you're living, not losing your housing, and just thinking outside the box for ways to be on top of the money situation. And like I've said before, a lot of us don't like to talk about money. I used to hate to talk about money. And I was always proud of the fact that when my brother would ask me how my portfolio was doing, I would always say, "What portfolio? I don't need one because I live in the moment," and all this beautiful thought. But I wish I'd been paying a little bit more attention then, so it wouldn't have been so hard to resolve a lot of my finances. But like I said, I was blessed. I got in and got out of crypto in the right time, and that afforded me being the position I'm in now, which is owning the house, owning the car, having solar, really being in a great position, and being able to save money and yeah, stack some silver and gold, being in a position of observation and fearlessness and strength. So when you hear me, what I'm saying, just remember that I'm coming from a position of strength, that I feel like I'm on top of this. And okay, guys, whatever you're going to roll out, we will cope. But you're going to be coping a lot better if you are out of debt. So I hope these comments help. And to the people that are asking me, what do you do? What are the first steps? How do you get out of it? Credit cards, baby. Get those credit cards paid off no matter what. Every time you treat yourself to dinner out or Starbucks twice a day, just think about it. This $100 that I just spent could be going to that debt on the card. Because once you get out from under that, which is a complete ripoff, you can't beat that system until you get out of that system, the credit card game. Then you start to breathe better. I hope this helps you guys. Take care. And by the way, my accident, I jammed my finger up on a rusty screw, but it's healing. So, I've got good genes. All right. I hope it helps. This is Patricia Cori signing up for now. Love you guys. Take care.